a lot of Nigerians that are talking about the president's, and especially regarding security, are online. So the president needs to improve on that. And as a wise man once said, I think the president has made an error, but a wise man once said, an error only becomes a mistake if we refuse to correct it. I think the president should correct this error.
Dr. Ezekwesili, where do we go from here? Gatu massacre, the herdsmen attacks, the Niger Delta situation. Where do we go?
I really think that with the benefit of hindsight, we see that what we thought was an existential threat in the Northeast, we've been able to stem that reasonably. There is absolutely no reason why we cannot transfer knowledge. I think that one of the problems that I have with the way that the president has responded to the headsman scourge is the fact that there's been a tentativeness about the response. Perhaps a lot is going on that we don't know about, but that's not the sense you get. And so in many ways, people feel, why are we sort of navel-gazing on this? We all remember how a renegade band of dissidents in Borno became the morphed Frankenstein monster that the world got to know about. We should never allow anything that can be nipped in the bud to be given the fertilizer to grow into monsterity. So I believe that what we need is to get a sense of urgency. The urgency of now, the urgency of how. It is clear that these are not similar things as the Northeast. So how do we do the adaptation of the solution to the economic terrorism going on in the South-South? Because it's a very well-defined economic terrorism. And then what's going on with the headsman attack in the communities? I mean, I believe that there is a conversation that is necessary on security governance in this country. And we need to open our minds to the fact that our political stability is not possible until we have discussed the issues of security governance. There are different levels at which you need a co-leadership, as it were, of this society in order to bring it to a manageable format of discussion of conflicts, because conflicts would happen. But how do we organize the prevention of conflicts, and how do we deal with conflicts when they have happened? I think that the president needs to bring a lot of his experience as a military person, but he needs to now understand that even much more than the military solutions, the world has gone on to soft power, and that there's a lot that can happen in terms of being able to build consensus. I think that the question that the gentleman Mokhtar was asking of Femi Adesina, your response was, President is going to Ogoni. That's good. But there is much more than going to Ogoni in that question. That question calls to discussion the matter of inclusion. You have to have an inclusive policy. It was a bitter election in this country, but it should not in any way lead to anyone feeling they've been marginalized because of their democratic choices that they made. I think it's important for the president to be seen as holding this whole family of people called Nigerians together, not just as a matter of symbolism, but in truth and indeed in the way that he looks at the federal structure. I mean, I looked at some of the research. I am not one given to this matter of, who was appointed, who wasn't appointed. No. But in any federal structure, we see it in Canada, we see it in Australia, in all of the federal systems, they actually take their time to invest in diversity. Diversity, inclusion, are so important.
You think
for
the
societies
confab report is needed? to be considered right now?
Well, that's the lowest minimum that you can think of. I believe that we need to be bolder, more ambitious in terms of what we can do to get this humpity-dumpity to work.
Let me bring Mr. Rwani into this matter. Dr. Ezekwesili said it's economic terrorism.
Yes.
So this kind of insecurities that we've seen will ground our economy if we're not careful, isn't it?
Yes. First of all, let's take the herdsmen. Let's take Boko Haram. Those are significant regions and markets. So when people are displaced, when there's uncertainty, when there's terrorism, those markets are excised from the supposed big Nigerian market. When you say you have 180 million people and a market with such landscape, those parts are not there because nobody's going to go and do business. No investor is going to go there and invest. Not only that, it's shifting all the way down. Agriculture is 23% of the GDP. All of the arable land in these areas cannot be, planted, right, without peace. So the cost of all of this turbulence from an agricultural standpoint, from the GDP standpoint, then let's go back to the South, which is the oil revenue. In 2013, we were having about $3.2 billion every month paid into our federation account. It came down last year to about $1 billion. And as we speak, it has dropped to about $500 million. Now, what is your definition of a crisis? If you're getting $3.2 billion and now you're down to $500 million, you can't pay salaries, states are insolvent. So it's economic terrorism and economic sabotage are similar. But what you have are putting together politically disgruntled, creating social mayhem, and degrading and downgrading our economic capabilities. So much so that you have negative growth. Quarter one, for you to go down from 6% to negative growth is a sharp fall in economic activity. And we are going to come and talk about the economy, but the consequences, the political consequences of insecurity and an elaborate scheme of politically disgruntled and proxy wars, of dismantling whatever you call them, Avengers and all of that, that is something that should not be allowed to happen. But we have to engage.
Are we spending right on security?
Well, I think it's not just security. Even if you take all the guns in the world into the swamp, you will not find these people, right? Right? So the reality is that you have to engage, right? You have to have that political conversation. You have to empower the communities. There has to be economic democracy as well as political democracy. That is, things have to happen. And so once there's economic activity going on and there's growth and people can see investment, then, this thing, the probability, the proneness of this society to instability is a function of negative economic activity.
Interesting. We talk some more on economy. We take a moment now. Economy is very big. And well, of course, the president had talked about how he will revamp the Nigerian economy. But some will say Nigeria is simply in recession. My guests will be talking about this. And of course, my audience in the studio will also be wading into this matter. Join us afterwards.
Economy is in shambles. Honestly, Nigerians are not happy. The economy is in shambles. The government of our President Muhammad Buhari, should try and have a good economic team, because the economy is nothing to write home about. We are not happy about it. The poor man on the street is suffering. We're not talking about the rich people that can afford the good things of life, but the poor man, they are really suffering, seriously.
Let him come up with the points in which he has in mind economically, because the situation of Nigerian economy today is very, very pathetic. The average man is suffering, and the people up there are not feeling this in their own aspects. So let him come with the points of ameliorating poverty from the low level. Let the common man feel the good impact of the government. So in the last 1 year, he has performed averagely to me. He has not really performed up to his expectation.
Electricity is not a thing that just starts now. And for a man to do a magic under 1 year and put those things in proper perspective, it just takes the support of every Nigerian to do it.
The economy is not collapsing, and it has not collapsed. So we are expecting something great for this country from him.